Hey, it's Future Jimmy. If you're listening to this episode and you did not listen to our regular scheduled Oscars episode, hey, go back and listen to that. We basically recorded this all in one chunk, and upon listening back, it was far too long, so I decided to break it up into 2 episodes. So this is your bonus coverage episode for Dune and all things Dune related. So that's why if the conversation seems like it just kicks right off, that would be why. But yeah, this is the 4 of us, Dave, Tony, me, and our special guest Avneesh, talking about the new Part 2 small independent French-Canadian film, Dune, by Mr. Denis Villeneuve. Hope you enjoy.
So
I do,
we should talk about
but
this.
I want to talk about
this
small independent
film from a French Canadian auteur. Would you say?
Auteur, definitely.
Would you say
indie auteur?
Yeah, but before we get into that, we need to shame Tony for not seeing it in IMAX.
What?
Tony.
I would just like to also point out that James drove two cities away to avoid paying premium prices on a movie, and still paid premium prices because of the gas money that he wasted going there.
Well, I didn't.
You saw Beekeeper in Oakville.
That's the Beekeeper.
I did not see Beekeeper in Oakville.
When did you? What do you mean? You saw?
Okay, that's right. I did go see.
Yeah, there you
Beekeeper
go.
in Oakville. Yes.
So again,
no, and again, also, I was at hockey, so I was already most of the way there. I had to go one exit over, so my gas was already spent. Regardless, thank you very much.
But why doesn't everyone just have Cineclub and then?
Oh, I do,
Then why did you have to do this?
because I didn't want to pay for a premium.
and there you go.
Because it was.
I didn't want to pay for premium
okay.
because I'm tired of
Hang
paying
on.
for premium. It was
Hang on.
it was in regular, so I saw it in
Hang
regular.
on.
It was Dune Part 2. It was a
premium.
I'm
gonna drop some knowledge on it. I fucking hated the movie, and I'm glad I didn't see it in premium.
Well, Tony's off the podcast.
I'm gonna throw this table at you.
And I'm just covering the ears.
Yeah,
of the
cover Shai's ears.
Cover his ears. He doesn't need to hear this.
He's the maker.
I almost fell asleep multiple times during the movie.
It's because you saw it in regular.
Nope, that's not the reason.
If you had the IMAX speakers, they'd keep you awake.
I wish I did, because you know what? The theater that I went to,
Sorry, was it a Stars and Strollers performance?
I wish, buddy. There's a certain scene in the movie,
Don't worry, Shai.
Babies
We
for
still
Shia
love
LaBeouf.
you.
buddy. I thought the speakers were gonna blow because I could hear the crackling, and I'm like, "Yep, this is what I get for not seeing it in IMAX." You know what?
Yep.
I'm just gonna ride it out. I'm not gonna yell at anybody. You know, there's streaks on the side of the screen for 90% of the movie, and I'm like, you know what, man, this is what I get. This is karma. But yeah, I'm just gonna ride it out. I'm gonna ride it out, man.
Good old Cineplex.
Yeah,
They're great
Cineplex
they're
always
great,
fucking
they're great
delivering.
masking. Always
Yeah.
delivering.
But
You sat there and you're gonna sit here and tell me that you're happy you went to a fucking premium screening of The Beekeeper.
I had a
over
fucking
Dune
blast
Part 2.
during Beekeeper. I don't know about you guys.
Well, yeah, of
no.
course we had a blast watching it, but it's not Denis Villeneuve's
sorry,
Dune Part 2.
I
Masterpiece.
need context. What are your thoughts on Dune Part 1?
Dune Part 1.
Yeah.
Well, my opinion has changed about Part 1 since I've seen Part 2. I wasn't really. I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I don't really like Dune. I don't like it. I've tried so hard. I've seen Dune Part 1 twice, and I haven't been able to see it in one sitting. I never saw Dune Part 1 in the theater. I remember rushing to see it before it got nominated for Best Picture, just to make sure that I saw all the Best Picture nominees. I had an appreciation for it then. I liked it a little bit less the second time I saw it. And then going into Part 2,
Duncan Idaho died for the Muad'Dib, and you can't respect the film.
I don't know what to tell you guys. Like I honestly I tried so hard, but you know what? I think it was a little bit overhyped for me. Part 2.
Okay.
I think it was a little bit overhyped because people were telling me that it was like wall to wall action and that
first
it
of all,
had
Okay, look.
more action than the first one,
It did.
and it did, but I kind of like the action scenes better in the first one. Like that end sequence is still an all-time banger. Like when the Harkins come down and they just lay fucking waste to the House of Atreides. That scene is next level, and
it's not even the end.
it's not even
Harkonnen
Harkonnens. Sorry,
or Harkodens.
Oh God! Only if you're fucking David Lynch. Jesus.
that scene was
What's
an
the
all-timer
oth-
for
what's
me,
the other-
and
what's the other group called? The Sack. What's the other group called?
Sardaukar?
The Sardaukar.
Sardaukar.
which ones are the Sardaukar?
Sardaukar, the Emperor's army.
The
Emperor's Army. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get that same feeling with the second one. Now, is it because I saw it in fucking regular? Maybe. Is it because I was forced to see it on Friday night instead of Sunday morning like I wanted to? Maybe. I just couldn't get behind it. And I'm going to give a big shout out to my wife. She is a fucking angel, because I turned to her at one moment in the thing and I was like, buddy, I am passing out. I need to go. I'm leaving. I'm going to go get some candy. I'll be back. She was like, no, you need to watch this. You stay here. I'll go and get the candy. And she left and grabbed it.
Well, big shout outs. Big shout outs.
Big shout outs to Melissa for sure.
She's your Lisan Al-Gaib.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's your Cuisar Tandarok. But what is it about Dune that doesn't work for you?
I don't know.
Looking at it holistically, looking at part 1 and part 2 for Denis Villeneuve's, and we can talk about the other aspects of Dune later, but
part 2 just felt so fucking long.
really,
Again, I don't know if it's because I was forced to see it on Friday night when I wanted to see it on Sunday morning.
Why didn't you just go on Sunday morning?
Because you know what? When your wife says that she's stressed out because of the weekend and she wants you to see the movie on Friday, you do what your wife says.
all right, fair, okay. And also, you know what? And to Tony's credit as well, he did just get over the bubonic plague, so he
There's also
was
that.
compressed in time for watching
Yes.
this.
And that probably changed because I saw Dune Part 1 when I was like literally like sick as a fucking dog. So I'm pretty sure I hallucinated some of that movie.
I don't think you did.
No, I was all there for sure. I don't know.
feel like
I
it would
just
be better if you hallucinated part
Yeah,
of
it might have been.
I just can't. I don't know if it's me, if it's Denis, if it's Shalalude.
Well, it most certainly is not Shia LaBeouf.
It has never been.
You
Shia
apologize now. He didn't mean it.
Oh, for
I
fuck's
swear.
I can appreciate it. I'm not going to shit all over this movie. I know the achievement it is. I know that it's a landmark film, and like the everything about it I can appreciate. I just don't like it.
That's completely fine. The way you phrased it, there's nothing to even push back on, because it's like, all right, I totally get what's good
Right?
about this.
Yeah.
It's just not for me.
It's just
And that's
not for me.
just-
Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Fucking a cinematic achievement,
Yeah.
just not for me.
That's
It's a Shonda.
fair.
It's a
Yeah.
Shonda, Tony. It's a Shonda.
But I will say, like, since you mentioned it was long, I thought it was the shortest long movie I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Like those credit rolls, and I was like, I need 30 minutes more.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Why is this already over?
Yeah.
And then I looked at the time and I was like, oh no, it's actually been a while. Like,
It
That's
whipped
fair.
it
Yeah.
whipped through.
yeah.
Maybe not for you, sir, but I'm telling you it did. It flew past, at least for me.
I thought
too
the first half flew. I think it slowed down a bit after what's his nuts shows up.
And that's when
Fade
Fade
Ralph.
Fade Ralpha. When he shows up, I felt it did start to slow down a little there, and then they picked it back up.
Was that Butler?
Yes.
Okay, so that is where I started struggling.
Really?
That scene between him and Dave, the French girl that Dave loves.
Seydoux.
Leia Seydoux.
That scene is where I was just like, man, I need
Yeah.
a kicker, because like if I don't get the kicker now, like I'm gonna pass the fuck out.
It needed to, like, holistic, like thinking about the entire plot of Dune. It needed to rush through a lot at the beginning. It could have definitely been paced a little bit differently towards the beginning and probably balanced itself out, so it wouldn't have had to hit the brakes so hard once it got to House Harkonnen and the entire battle with Fade Ralpha.
Even though
And after
that
that-
looks amazing.
Wild. That whole thing is wild.
So beautiful.
Coliseum scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Wild.
amazing.
So beautiful.
Yeah. Shot in black and white and infrared.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Looks
You could tell
incredible.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible
Like,
cinematography.
the sharpest contrast I think I've ever seen on film ever in my life.
Yeah.
And just like the transitioning in color scheme.
Yeah.
When you could
Yeah, when they're
When
under
you
the
could see
sun
them
versus
going,
not.
like,
Yeah.
so-
It's just
Yeah.
it was very cool.
art.
Cinema.
Cinema.
Yes, they could have fixed that pacing a bit and not had to pump the brakes so hard. But the thing is, they kind of rushed up to that point, and then from Fade Rutha onwards, it is pretty much a linear run to the end. Like
Yeah.
they don't have to skip over much because there's nothing much left to skip over. They've gotten to the point. Now it's like, all right, and now we can set to the end. But they had to scooch through the beginning because there's a lot that needs to happen, including the wonderful learn the ways montage, which I wish was scored like an 80s movie
Yeah.
because it deserved like a needle drop right there.
But
Like Push It to the Limit came on and he's just like walking across the sand or something.
But even
Yeah.
that, it felt like it had scenes missing. So I
Yeah.
loved the film, but
Sure.
one of just, especially when I watched it the second time, it didn't bother me as much because I knew what was happening. But
Yeah.
the first time, I felt like in the beginning and in the end, there were specific moments. Do we just go into details, like straight dive in?
Sure.
Yeah,
Say
okay,
what
so,
you say what you want.
like in that montage, the part where Chani joins him
Yeah.
and because she's worried that he's not going to make it alone.
Yeah.
And then you feel like, okay, you're going to see these two do this thing now. But then it just
Just cuts away
Cuts
from it. Yeah.
to like an action scene that,
Yeah.
all of that is done. Like he
Yeah.
did the thing and now he's part of the crew and now
Yeah.
they're like carrying out this attack. And
Yeah.
that was just so jarring the
Yeah.
first time.
Yep.
Second time I knew it was coming. So it was fine. And then even later on in the movie, when Fade Rauta is taking over,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he's attacking their home
Yeah.
to force them to go to the south. And it's just like, if they knew this was here the whole time, why didn't Bautista do this? Like why did Fade have to? But there's
Yeah.
something missing. I felt there,
Yeah.
and apparently that they go into that in the books, like how
They do.
how they actually figure it out or find the base or whatever. So that
Yeah.
was just
But they also condense it in this movie.
Yes.
It's a lot long. I don't
It's-
know much about the book, but
Yeah.
it's a lot longer.
Yeah.
No,
period.
so the entirety of this part 2 of this movie does not take place over what feels like weeks in this case, or months, I guess, when we're looking at the pregnancy level of Rebecca Ferguson. It's not months. It's years. Like it's supposed to take place over a long period of time, and for the sake of
which makes more sense
Yeah.
logistically.
yeah, like have you seen the original, or not the original, David Lynch's Dune?
I have not.
All right.
I told him it was required reading for this.
It
It was
It's-
that or American Fiction. I had to
okay,
choose.
fine,
Yeah.
fine.
I literally just finished up Dune before
Yeah.
we started this. It
Did you like it?
I have thoughts.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. But like there's his sister's supposed to be born. Like it's
Right.
supposed to be a full functioning character
Yeah.
that does things and not just an Anya Taylor-Joy jump scare. Like so there was choices.
it wasn't just talking fetus.
Yeah, it wasn't just talking fetus. There was a lot of talking fetus in the book. I will say. There's
I
a lot of
loved
talking
it.
fetus in the
Oh,
book.
God.
They pulled that from Blonde because it's very much talking fetus
Oh,
movie too.
Jesus.
So, yeah. So I understand what Denis decided to do ultimately with this. Like Monsieur Villeneuve decided to condense it
Yeah.
and make it more approachable in the sense of like, okay, we don't have to deal with like years of time. We don't have to drag this out forever. It probably could have been 3 movies if they really wanted to, but I understand condensing it into 2 longer, big parts. Something's got to give. Like something has to happen where there's going to be a piece that you're going to be like, yeah, I feel like they could have expanded here, but
Yeah, and again, it didn't bother me the second time. Just
Yeah.
the first time it felt a bit jarring, but the second time when I
Yeah.
knew what to expect and when I had already in my mind like filled in the blanks essentially,
yeah,
I actually liked those decisions then because I was like, okay, so this is how he's just keeping the tension level
Yeah.
raised the whole time,
Yeah.
essentially, because there's that sense of urgency
Yeah.
throughout almost. And if they had done it over years or
Yeah.
whatever, it might have completely compromised that.
Yeah, but like that last sort of battle where they're sieging the Emperor's ship and
Yeah.
you know that whole thing is taking place. Minus the changes that I already kind of mentioned, where the fact the sister's not even born and not even a consideration and everything else. So there's things that they had to change with the story in order to make that still happen. When I listened to the audiobook of it. When I listened to the audiobook of that, it's almost shot for shot of exactly kind of what I had pictured in my head of like it being described to me. I think Villeneuve did a very, very good job of bringing that to screen, and like it was insane. It was loud. There was fucking worms coming out of everywhere. There was atomic bombs going off, and then you know they capture everyone, and then the final battle between Feyd-Rautha and Paul Muad'Dib, Usul, Wizard Haderach, fucking Mary Sue of fucking names. Jesus Christ.
He's not a Mary Sue. Don't
He's
call
a
him
Mary
that.
Sue.
He is not.
He's a Mary Sue.
He
Dave.
is not. Don't do that. Don't be that guy.
I'm gonna.
Don't be that guy.
He's everything.
He's the Muad'Dib.
He is the Muad'Dib. I spent the whole week after seeing that movie just wandering around my house yelling Muad'Dib and like everything. Like I'd open a cupboard and be like Muad'Dib as written.
Did the cat appreciate that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mouse is my Usul. Anyway, yeah, I really liked the last bit. Like that fight was perfect between a very bald Elvis and Timothy Chalamet.
He was fucking creepy, Austin Butler. Like what a performance!
I was
he gave.
really worried
Like,
he was gonna be like space Elvis and just like come in with that southern drawl that he's never been able to let go of. Apparently, I was very happy he wasn't. But he was fucking creepy.
He was nuts. He was certifiably nuts. Melissa turned to me at one point and she was just like, "Is that Austin Butler?"
Cover most of his bald head, and he could have been Pennywise.
Could have been.
He's creepy enough for it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Especially when they were doing like those down angle shots. Like that man's a creep show.
Do you think he's the best villain since Heath Ledger's Joker?
No.
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 Who's ever saying that? Like, really?
People can
Really?
fuck off.
They can fuck right off.
hyperbole about it.
They can fuck right off.
And that he's a shoo-in for supporting actor.
No.
He's a shoo-in for a nomination for supporting actor, sure.
I don't
It's
know.
fucking March, guys. Let's pump the brakes.
I feel like that was more like fan accounts. Like no serious people were
No.
saying that. Like
It was
but
a
he
good
was
Well,
very
they were
good.
they were
Yeah.
noting that he was very good.
It was
Yeah,
a good performance.
Yeah.
No, I don't think of the best villain of all time. I don't think Feyd-Rautha is the best villain of all time in general.
He's a lot better here than he is in David Lynch's fucking Sting. Whatever Sting's wearing in that movie.
Okay.
Can I? Are we getting right into David Lynch?
No, please go
Okay,
ahead.
so-
Don't take me there yet.
Another thing I wanted to point out during the movie, it was Melissa's like running commentary because like she got like the 2 cent recap because I sent her a recap video before the movie.
Oh, sure.
And she didn't watch it, so I was like, "Okay,
Gross.
right."
Great.
So I had to like recap the first one in 30 seconds, and I did a pretty good job. So during the
I don't even
movie,
know how you do that.
I gave the Coles notes basically. During the movie, there's
Did you
a
explain
scene.
the entire struggle between House Atreides and House Harkonnen?
Oh, for fuck's sake!
And how it's been going on for
centuries. We get it. Anyways, there's a scene with Stellan Skarsgård where he's in the goop.
Yes.
And he like comes out
comes
of the
out
goop
of the goop.
and then comes back into the
Yeah.
goop. Right? She turns to me and she's like, "Yo, Tony, who's the guy in the goop?"
that's
It's
the
like-
Baron.
This is the Baron.
That's the Baron. He's the leader of the Harkonnens. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she was just like, "Well, what does he do?" And I was like, "Just watch the
lives
goop.
in the goop.
He lives in the goop. He's the goop guy."
Just the goop guy.
But I just love her turning to me and be like, "So who's the guy in the goop?"
Who's Mr. Goopy over here?
Another great performance by Stellan Skarsgård for sure. He's great at that role, and just seeing like the way he portrays it versus the one in Lynch's, it's just fucking weird.
Okay, we're not getting. We're gonna get to Lynch. We will get to Lynch.
That's me putting a pin because there's a certain scene in Dune that I rewatched before the podcast just to make sure that it still happened and didn't happen in the director's cut. Oh, it did.
Oh, it did.
So that's me, sweet boy, putting a pin in that.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that.
I think my issue And my only real issue with Dune Part 2 is I really like that first hour of him learning the trade and kind of push it to the limit and all of that. I think it's so well done.
Yeah.
I really get a sense of, you said he's a Mary Sue. I don't think he's a Mary. I think you're actually seeing him in real time, learning the trade, putting in the effort. He's not just...
Sure.
He's not Rey Skywalker. Okay,
he wants to be a fighter.
He wants to be a fighter.
Sure.
He's doing.
And
what
he wants to honor
do.
the people, and he wants to do it right. He doesn't want to just be like, because he knows that he's like born to be king, right? But he doesn't want to just jump to that,
right?
And I like seeing them fight. I really love that scene where he's with Chani and they're blowing up the thing. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
And then she's just running, and it's exploding.
Yeah.
Like that
It's
looks
wild.
Amazing in IMAX.
Yeah.
You fucked up.
I don't care.
Also, I don't think you haven't experienced cinema until you've seen an entire IMAX frame filled with Christopher Walken's face.
It's true.
Yeah,
Something I
it's true.
never
It's true.
thought I'd imagine seeing, but
It's true.
I'm a changed man.
These are true facts. These
Those
are true
wrinkles
facts.
have crevices, Holmes.
He was beautiful. in it.
And I really do think they needed to do a better job of explaining Jessica becoming
Reverend.
Reverend
Mother and how she was just like, yeah, they want me to do it or they're gonna kill me. And it's like, well, you're still pregnant, girl. Maybe you should maybe you should put up a little more of a fight.
As I think I told this to Dave at some point. That's how it goes down in the book.
But
That's
they
pretty
changed.
much-
But he changed Chani, and
Yes.
he gave her more agency, and she's much more. She's not as much of a pushover. Who's just
I
like,
agree.
cool, whatever. So he could have at least put in like a 3-second like. So I'm pregnant.
No, so it has to go down that way because Arya needs to exist. You can't. The problem is if you put up a barrier to that, then all of a sudden now she's a shitty person if she drinks
She was
it.
always a shitty person.
Yeah, but it's more like it was kind of like I think the reason was let's make it look rushed. Like it has to be done. It has to be done. So she's like kind of bewildered. Like okay, I guess I got to do it. I got to do it, sort of thing. And like she has half a second thought of like fuck, I don't know, but okay. But I don't know that there's any other way to do it. It has to happen. She's a piece of shit anyway because she put Arya at risk for it, but Arya also has to be created for a lot of reasons.
But she also put Paul at risk.
Yeah,
she did all. Then she's with the fucking Bene Gesserit pulling the fucking strings and all that bullshit. Anyways, I love all that first stuff, and then when it gets to Fade Rautha, and then Leia Seydoux shows up, and there's that whole
to take his seed,
and then it's all building to something, but you don't need it in the movie. You can just keep going,
Yeah,
there's certain parts where you're like, yes, I need more here, and then there's certain parts where you're like, I don't need this. Get rid of this. Just keep going. And if you're gonna change certain things and you're gonna pull things out, because your boy what is it? Thufir got cut right out.
Yeah.
Tim Blake Nelson got cut right out. He's not going to show us the deleted scenes, even though Thufir is an important part of what happens next.
Yeah.
If you're going to cut all that shit out, and you're still going to go with your whole Bene Gesserit thing, that's fine. But you still don't need. You don't need this. You didn't need her scene in there. You don't need it there.
Yeah, well, with the outcome of it, you don't. But I know, and I think they could have done it differently. They could have avoided that whole thing and still gotten the point across. Because I know the entire point is it's trying to balance this that
he's a monster who can be tamed.
Not the Fade Rautha part. Actually, not at all. I'm talking more generally that Dune is supposed to be. It's showing you how fucked up messiahs can be. And what the whole Bene Gesserit point is like, it's not even real. Like they manufactured this. Yep. And so we've manufactured it once. If this fucks up, we're just going to do it again. And that's why we have that was his whole point is just it was trying to if you don't have that, then all of a sudden it looks like Paul was always meant to be this. He's going to be a messiah. And this is exactly what needs to happen. It was always going to happen. And he's Jesus Christ reincarnate. And they mentioned it, the Bene Gesserit mentioned it, this hasn't happened in their age. Like it hasn't happened for ages. There's also like a whole lot in the book that actually involves the Bible in ways, and like it comes back as like an old text that someone's reading. Like it's fucking weird.
But in the Matrix, which obviously pulls from Dune,
yeah,
they're like, you're not the first time we tried this. You could have just done the same thing
but
and kept it
counterpoint,
going.
it's just a cool as fuck scene. She approaches him, seduces him. It's just
Well, let's
uses
play a
the
scene,
voice
so
on
of course
him.
she's gonna seduce
Hey,
him.
no, but
she
it was
used the
just-
voice on him. He wasn't completely willing.
and then they have a chance to get the box out again. I just think it's a good scene. Like when she got the box out, the audience responded well to it, and I think that's why they wanted to keep it in. I think the first time I watched it, we spoke a bit and we felt like maybe more similar on this, but the second time I watched it, I was like, I don't want anything cut. Just add things, sure.
Yeah.
I could have done with an extra 10, 15, even 20 minutes filling some stuff out, but I wouldn't want to lose
And I'm mad about my
anything.
boy
Like,
Thufir.
yeah.
That's the scene I would lose, and I would add in a little bit more struggle when he gets to the south and he has to
Yes,
fulfill his destiny.
He just kind of
the whole movie,
he just kind of
he's
walked
just
up.
like maybe, and then he just kind of walks up. And he's like, "Yo, give me the juice."
yeah.
Type thing. I think there should have been more
There's
of a
whole lot
struggle
more.
there.
There's a
And
whole
there
lot
should have been
more.
more with Chani if you're going to give her the agency and how she reacts afterwards to it. I feel like there should have been like a little more of, "Don't do this."
I just read it like once he has that conversation with Hamas, he's just decided already. He's like, I got to do this. That's the only way. I got to see where this takes me. It's the only way to get clarity. And even with Shani, like they get her to do what she needs to do by using the voice on her, right? If I remember correctly,
Yes.
because she doesn't want to do it, but she's forced into doing it. That I didn't mind at all. I just thought the film was just ripping at that point, and it just, yes, it was a bit chaotic, but
yeah, it struggled a bit. Like that's where it struggled a bit was, and again in the book they spend a little bit more time in the South, and he kind of has to come to the realization that the South is filled with fanatics, which they kind of do a little bit of when he makes that speech, but at that point it's too far gone. Like he's already like
he's embraced it.
I am like that. It is what it is.
And that's a great scene, and I really like that scene. I just
But the build up, the struggle build up that he has in the book, I think gets lost in this work. Yeah, he literally just rolls to the South and he's like, "All right, deuces, I'm gonna go drink this blue juice." Like that's not, and he just rolls in. It's like, no, you can't have that. He's like, yes, I can. And then, all right, like, all right, peace. And then he's in a coma for like months in the book. Like again, the timeline compression. It's like months. This was like what 12 hours, and they're like, get Johnny down here.
Desert Spring.
Yeah.
Diaz.
So maybe that. Oh shit!
Dave got so excited.
I got so excited I dropped the mic.
It wasn't even a mic drop
It
moment.
wasn't even a mic drop moment. So maybe that is what I have the issue with, is that maybe they needed to make it clearer that there should be more time.
Yep. I agree.
And I feel like that's it. Because, it does feel chaotic. You used the right word, chaotic.
Yeah.
It's
chaotic.
Getting from here to here.
Yep. Yeah.
And then Dave Bautista's so good, and they did him dirty. They didn't really... I don't know. That felt very
they glossed over Raban. I mean, they kind of
totally
talk about
glossed
Raban.
over him, and him with Josh Brolin. Like, I understand this, but it just kind of didn't feel very organic.
Yeah, they did. I think as the bare minimum of what they had to do with Raban, which is just basically like, okay, we put him back in charge. Okay, he's fucking up constantly, and he's not really fucking up. He's just dumb, and the Fremen are smarter. And that's it. Like he's underestimated the Fremen by a long shot. And that's really all that's happened. And they allude to, and they do a decent enough job with it, especially with like the little showdown between him and Feyd-Rautha. But
again, maybe that's not it. Maybe they just needed to make it clear that
exactly they didn't show enough of.
They've been at it for a little bit, as opposed to just like one scene and then the next scene, like, yo, Raban, you're fucking up. Feyd, you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a couple of attacks, I think. We saw a couple of scenes of the Fremen overpowering them. And I just found like this whole thing summed up by when the Emperor comes in the end and he's like, you fucks, you have no idea that there's this whole other group of people living there. Yeah. You've been ruling this planet for how long?
Which is legitimately from the books too. Like they have they're like, there's like 10,000 Fremen.
What are you doing? Like,
there's like a few thousand Fremen is like the best estimate the Harkonnens ever come up with. And it's like millions. Like they're just so fucking anyway. They're just fat, greedy. Like, I don't know. House Harkonnen has always been fat and greedy. And like, that's their whole thing is greed in general. And I'm glad that we got rid of the icky stuff. Because there's a lot of icky stuff in the book that needs to not exist.
Which is in the Lynch version.
Some of it is in the Lynch version.
Some in the Lynch version. Yeah. I think visually it's spectacular.
Yeah.
I think the visuals are incredible. And it's nice to see a movie where they didn't skimp on the visual effects. And they actually shot some of it legitimately.
The only time I struggled a bit was with the massive crowds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I think that's not a problem specific to this movie. That's just some.
We haven't fully figured out massive crowds. We've been doing like the same thing since Lord of the
Even
Rings.
like I was watching this show on Amazon, Daisy Jones and the Six, and they're playing like they're performing to a sold out stadium of fans, and every time they cut to the fans, it just looks horrible. But no, apart from that, the visuals completely on board. Yeah,
and cinematography, excellent.
Yeah.
Visuals, makeup, just the works. Like it did very well. Kind of like Dune Part 1 was very visually stunning, and this one just kind of kept
continued.
Kept the train a moving. And I like the ending. I was left very similar to the first one, where I was like, let's keep going, guys. Let's see what comes next.
Yeah.
Give it to me now.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Let's see what comes next. And I thought, what's her name was good? Florence.
Yeah.
I thought she was good.
Great.
She was very thankless role, but I thought she was good. And I like that they started with her, kind of like how they started with her in Lynch's one, which I assume is how they start the book.
Oh God, she's throughout the book.
Yeah,
every single chapter starts with a narration from Princess Irulan talking about it's either conversations with her father where she's talking to the emperor, or conversations with Muad'Dib.
And
it's
I think
very
that would
like prophetic
have
almost.
improved the first one if they had, because it's kind of like a gimmick and a motif in this one. It's like it's not in the first one.
Yeah. It's
because like you understand the emperor, even in the first one, you understand the emperor is pulling the strings. And I feel like they could have used that a little
in the book
more.
It's weirder because like she's talking about like conversation with Muad'Dib, so you're like, oh fuck, I already know
where this is going.
This kind of ruins, it takes the wind out of the sails a little bit because
Maybe
each thing is doing. But in this one, like they focus very much on like it was conversations between her and the emperor, which is fine. Like I think they could have easily done something like that to set the stage a little bit more. You're right. I also am fine with them cutting out the space and guild constantly. Although, and again, for David Lynch's thing, I do have to talk about the space and guild.
We'll get there. Tony.
I was going to speak to your point. Even though I wasn't really a fan of part 2, I'm definitely all in for the next one. Like I need to see how this ends.
Yeah.
I think you should rewatch part 2 as well.
Probably ends badly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I saw the Lynch one. I know how it ends.
It's gonna end badly.
No, of course it is. Of course, but I'm all in. I need to see how it concludes for sure. And speaking about the special effects, when Timmy is learning how to do the sandworms, and he's like when it was like that first one where like the sand like opens up and he's like kind of like falling and he's getting his footing and stuff.
Yeah,
that's when I thought the speakers were gonna blow.
Oh,
because like the crack, like I could hear it crackling. Because I was like, wait, like this sound design's kind of weird, right? The crackling, like, is that like the sand hitting the sandworm and everything? And like it got a little bit burnt. I'm like, nope, that's the speakers.
Yeah,
speakers are gonna blow.
I really want to cut it to push it to the limit now.
Right?
It'd be so much better. Oh my god,
someone
that
should
would
do that.
Be epic. Hans Zimmer score though.
Yeah,
incredible.
Next level.
You got to rewatch it. I know you don't. Like, I think because even as someone who really liked the movie, it just got better on the rewatch. So many of the issues I had with it, they just sort of went away.
I told you I'd go with you to go see it in IMAX.
I also have the Steelbook 4K Happy Hand Job edition already pre-ordered. So
absolutely,
that's true.
Yeah,
the IMAX looks.
Unbelievable.
The expanding ratio, they use it very well.
The sandworm scene that you just spoke about, you didn't even see the full sandworm. You saw 60% of the sandworm. You got to watch the other 30%, 40%.
Like when the three of them are going at them, it looks
wild.
He does very well. Like he is definitely the disciple of Chris Nolan and how Chris Nolan uses the expanded ratio.
Yeah.
He does very well.
Well, I noticed it. I noticed it more when I rewatched Dune Part 1, right? With the ratio, because like our 4K has it, right? And I see what he does with it, and it looks fucking incredible. So I can only assume like the IMAX on this one is exactly the same.
Very, very good.
It is one of the best things I've seen in a theater.
Okay.
Like, period.
That's high praise.
Yeah. Like in terms of what they accomplish with pushing the cinematic experience to the maximum, the sensory experience of it. Like, your mileage may vary on how much you like the film overall, but in terms of the cinema,
it's definitely like a once in a lifetime fucking, or once, not in a lifetime, in a generation movie.
Nice.
Like it's, I don't know, Avatar.
Oh, on like
again, another movie that I did not like.
But still, when you were in the theater
allowed.
seeing that, like that was something that you hadn't seen before, and this is very much something you haven't really seen. Like, it's not going to play the same way on your 4K Happy Handjob edition.
I understand. But I
need more throat singing.
Yes,
so much more throat singing.
More
that coming out of the speakers right at the beginning in IMAX, just. Yeah,
the Instagram reel of the couple doing it as they're walking down.
Yeah, it's excellent. I'm not going to throat sing. I don't know how.
And I love that reel too of the guy on
the worm.
the worm going across. No one's paying attention to him.
That was great.
I love that. That was amazing.
Stilgar has become the winner for most meme, right?
That's written.
But for Javier Bardem is great.
Yeah. No,
Javier Bardem's always
great. The reason he's memeable is because he's great.
No,
that's the only reason it works.
So good. It's like, my grandparents, when I change it from HDMI 1 to 2, Lisan Al-Gaib.
That's written.
And I was telling James this. I really think that how they like take all the water out of the bodies. I thought that was really how they showed that.
That's
was
so
really
fucking cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
And then, as somebody else pointed out on Twitter, how they completely throw that out at the end and they're just burning bodies
because they don't want that.
Because they don't want the water, but they're just burning bodies because they don't care anymore. And it's kind of echoing how it looks in the first movie type thing.
Yeah, that's also just like they did this thing, right? Where in the end, they just throw back to like when the movie opens, you see all the burning bodies of the Atreides house. And then at the end, you see all the burning bodies of
the
Harkonnens. And even with
Sardaukar.
Yeah.
And Sardaukar.
With Faye Droutha, one of his first lines is, "You fought well, Atreides." And he says that in victory. And then that's his last line as well. But now he's saying it in defeat.
Yeah. And they probably could have fixed the whole thing where she finds out that she was the Baron's daughter. I think they
well, that's a thing.
I know. I think they could have I think that should have been a little more organic, where it was just like, BT dubs, I didn't know that. I just found it out. Cool.
Yeah, she finds it out in the hallucination, but I mean, they could have left it for later. It bears nothing on this story.
Yeah.
I was just like, wait, what? Like it almost went over my head, and I was like, wait, are they serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it feels like it was just there just so he could have that line like, "Sup, cuz."
Yeah.
And when he goes grandfather and then writes the knife in.
I do appreciate in that final battle that one guy that after the atomics go off, he's the first to get up and he's gonna put the fucking flag back up. I'm like, buddy, come on. Do we need the flag?
Yeah. So that battle as well, the first time I watched it, I just feel because our expectations with these sort of films are so set to like, oh, big giant battle. And this thing is sort of like over as soon as it starts, because it's not even really, it's generous to even call it a battle. It's just an ambush and they completely overtake them. And the first time I was like, wait, it's done? They won already? But the second time, because I knew that, okay, that's what the story is, it just played so much better.
Yeah.
And even that, the one-on-one battle that they have in the end.
Yep.
So the way he drives the knife into him, when he has the vision, he like sees that.
Yep.
And I just loved how they sort of tied all of that up together. Like you could tell that how just meticulously thought out everything was from start to finish.
Yeah. It's good. I could sing its praises all night, but
I will watch it again in IMAX a third time before
good for
it leaves.
you.
Yeah.
He'd watch it again in IMAX for a third time if he could.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Zendaya?
Oh,
I think that's the last thing I wanted, because we've talked about everyone else and how good everyone else is. We haven't really touched on her.
You mentioned everything that I kind of wanted to mention about Chani, about how they've changed her character, and I think Zendaya played it very well.
I thought so too. I thought she was great.
Nailed it. And she had to do so much with her eyes.
Yeah,
basically.
I think it's like one of her best performances she's ever given.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like easily.
There's not. I have nothing negative or controversial to say. It's just, she's great,
She's very
and
good.
the changes they made to her character, I think, helped her play an even better role.
It's a very physical performance.
Even Timmy, like, I don't know.
Well, Timmy's
Timmy's
always
Timmy,
great.
buddy.
Yeah.
No, but he just turned it up.
Yeah, he
Like-
did turn it up.
Like the scene where he embraces it, in that moment, you're like, let's go. I will come into the screen and
Yeah.
go to war with you, buddy. Like, let's do this. Like, yeah.
When he tells the Reverend Mother to silence, that was pretty good.
Always
Yeah.
a good moment.
That was
I-
Such a good moment.
I like the moment. It's the same moment where she goes like, "Oh, we wanted to give him hope." And he's like, "That's not hope."
Yeah.
It's like, "Yeah, Timmy. Fuck, I feel your
Yeah.
pain,
Yeah.
man."
Yeah.
I just dislike how the internet's like, oh, he's so good here. I didn't know he was so good before. And it's like, well, he got nominated for an Oscar
Yeah.
like 5-10 years ago.
But that's like, this is a movie star performance. That's the thing, right? Like, yes, we know he's been fantastic in like a lot of smaller films and he can give you those award-worthy performances. But this is like, I can front a franchise. I am a movie star who can also capital A act at the same time and do it all. And do it a few months after I was in a musical for families and children. Like, it's just like, it just really felt like a moment for him that, okay, he's
the real deal.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lynch,
Wild.
right?
That is
Wild.
that is an '80s movie through and through,
Hoya and low budget.
low budget.
But
But I
budget. It's high budget for the 80s. High budget.
Yeah, but
The
he's not running Spielberg Lucas budgets.
Well, no, of course not. But
Yeah.
they put money into that fucking
They
thing.
did.
the
They
costumes,
and
the
it
set
shows.
design,
Yeah.
design, and everything. I fucking loved that aspect of the movie.
I liked some of its world building. I think the sets, yes, at times, but I also find them very confining. Like they were just like, oh yeah, what does Caladan look like? Doesn't fucking matter. Don't it just. Here's the inside of a castle wall. Like, yeah. So like there was some things about it where I was like, okay, it's cool, but like I feel like all I'm getting is interior shots for this until we get to Arrakis. Like everything was interior. Interior Caladan, interior everywhere else, and then Arrakis was like exterior desert.
Well, you got. It's from 84.
It's fine.
The
I'm
80s.
just saying. It's just a comment on the fact that yes, but like I wish they kind of did a little more.
James is just being nitpicky at this point.
Sure.
I think the only thing that really bothered me, what we're talking about, was when they turn on the shields.
Yeah, it's jank.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
real
my
jank.
fucking Christ.
It's real jank.
Even then, I would have been like,
even the city
this looks
shield.
like ass.
Yeah, this
It looks like
I'll
just,
show
they
you-
just
I'll show you a clip
raised
after
the
what it
I think I
looks
screen.
saw of like the transparent
They're very
shields when
blocky.
and
Yeah.
it just looks
Yeah,
like
it
blocks.
looks like
Yeah.
blocks.
So it's something. He did the best that he could in trying to condense a very, 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 very long story into 2 and a bit hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's an achievement in and of itself.
It's true.
That this movie exists because, and that it's mostly coherent. Like,
Yeah.
because
small pinch.
mostly coherent.
I thought if you know the story,
your guys' viewing of it is better than mine, I would say, because you guys both watched theatrical, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I watched the director's cut.
yeah, that would do it.
Not the director's cut. The extended is not a director's
It's true.
cut.
It's true.
Sorry,
It's not. He
the
took his hands.
extended-
Lynch took his name
Hands
off the
off.
writing and directing credit
Okay.
for that.
The extended cut.
I think it also helped
So I
that-
saw the 3-hour version
Sure.
of this.
I
too.
think it also helped that I had the Villeneuve.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had
also
an
helps.
understanding of the film already. or the
Watching it
story
after
already.
watching it after reading the book, watching it after Denis Villeneuve's helped a lot to fill in the gaps because there are a lot of gaps.
Yeah.
But it's still mostly coherent. Mostly. Like it's
maybe that's why I didn't like part 2 as much, right? Because like I remember the Lynch version, so I'm trying to when I was going through it, I'm trying to connect. I'm like, okay, where are we in the Lynch? Because I'm remembering the Lynch. I'm like, okay, where are we in the story? Kind of thing, right? I remember these things happening.
Hard to do. It's hard to do.
Well, and maybe that was a chunk out of it.
Again, maybe that's why I didn't like Dune part 2 as much, right? Because I was thinking too much of the Lynch version, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like they land on Arrakis and then immediately they're meeting I can't even remember his name right now. Max von Sydow.
Yeah. I don't it's a woman in
yes, correct. But the something of the change. Judge of the Change. They meet the judge of they literally in Lynch's version land on Arrakis, judge of the change. Like there's no settling into jack shit. It is like and judge. And then they do the rest of it. But
I was telling you, they got rid of him having to fight what's his nuts?
Hummus?
Jamis.
Yeah.
They get rid of him
entire
completely.
Scene's gone. I think it's in the extended one, but in the theatrical one, it's gone. It's literally like he meets up with the Fremen and he's like, what do you want to be called?
Also, hey, and they say the line, you have to walk with a rhythm. If you walk with a rhythm, you won't attract the worm. Big shout outs to Fatboy Slim. But then they just get off the ship and just start walking normally along the sand. I'm like, what? What rhythm are you not walking with? I don't understand.
Where does it end? Does it end where Dune Part 2 ends? Or does it go into Messiah? Okay.
No, it ends at the same spot, just differently in the sense that, Kyle MacLachlan.
Spoil how it ends. No, it's actually hilarious how it ends.
It's bananas. Kyle MacLachlan just he finishes fighting Fade Mouth, so same. He wins, same, cool. And then he gives a tiny little speech and then opens his mouth and stands there for a bit. And then they cut to outside and there's beams of light hitting the sky and then it starts raining.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
It starts raining.
I'm sorry. Did his breath call the what is happening?
Full God mode, not just Messiah, but
straight
God.
Up straight up, I changed the weather of Arrakis with my mouth.
Kyle MacLachlan, come on.
It does make sense in context that it's Kyle MacLachlan.
Though back to what Tony was mentioning about the silence moment when he silences Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohayim in Lynch's version. Hysterical. It's my favorite thing ever because she falls ass over tea kettle backwards. Yeah! It's so good.
It's got a level. The Lynch version's got a level of charm. The
worms are fun.
I liked it.
It was. They show him properly getting on, and did they show him getting off the worm?
I think they do.
Yeah,
I think they do.
That whole sandworm scene, when he's riding it, it's honestly, Avneesh, you need to find the clip because it's fucking funny. Hilarious.
It's great. It's so great.
But I think I saw a side by side of his first ride and the new one versus the old one. Yeah.
So the scene that I'm talking about that I remember verbatim from this fucking movie is it's about 40 minutes in when the leader of the Harkonnen.
Yeah,
they basically give him a sacrificial lamb. If you guys remember, and it's very he's touched. It's a very icky scene because I was super fucking uncomfortable.
Really,
yeah, it's gross.
Tony, the book is so much worse.
Yeah, I bet
it's gross.
I bet. So I watched the scene again on Netflix, the theatrical version, and I'm like, oh no, the extended version. It's so much worse.
Yeah.
He pulls the thing out and he's caressing him. And in the theatrical, how they cut away, buddy, they don't cut away in the extended. And you see everything.
Young boys, Tony.
Young boys. It was just
part of the book.
So incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He's so fucking creepy too, right? Because he has all those blisters and shit on his face.
Yeah, he's goopy.
He's good. He's goopy, but not Stellan Skarsgård. Goopy, I like that they changed.
Yeah, that was weird when he spits on Jessica.
I want to spit on you.
What? It's also
he's so like I like
He's
really that they
good,
update.
though.
I like how they updated that because
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård, like you just put like black goop on him. Okay, he's creepy.
Yeah.
But this guy, like he's haunting my nightmares.
It also that guy floating was hilarious though. Like at least like Stellan, he comes out of the goop and he's like, he looks like this monsterful powerhouse of like a huge human being. Yes, we know he's just like morbidly obese and that's all, but like he presents himself in a way of like, I have power. Whereas this guy was just like floating along,
like you could just tell that the strings are just like fucking like
It's also a super bad look because this was the 80s when AIDS was very prevalent and nobody understood what was happening.
Yeah.
And he's all fucking covered in boils and all that gross shit. And he is very much into young boys and he's given fuck you eyes to Sting. And it's it's not it's not a good look.
No.
That part aged badly.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was bad then. It's aged worse now.
Definitely.
The Spacing Guild though. Wow. What the hell is that creature design? I love it so much. It's gonna haunt my dreams.
Yeah,
it's like this giant fucking like brain that turned into a tadpole is the only way that I can possibly describe it. And it exhales spice, which yes, all fine, but what the fuck? And it's incredible to behold. I'm just like, what the fuck is like they wheel it in this tub and like the screen opens up and it's just this
it's cool as shit
cool as
for
shit, man.
But yeah, it's
like I'm saying it like I don't hate it. I love it. I think it's unashamedly fucking amazing.
That's weird.
There's a level of charm to the David Lynch one. I was expecting like a full like bomb debacle, but like I was like, you know what, like this is fucking weird, but I'm like here for it.
Yeah,
I really enjoy. I genuinely enjoyed it. Like it's bad, but and it's not so bad. It's good. It's just like you said, there is a charm to it, and it is impressive to look at.
Of course,
Avneesh, have a watch, and then.
Don't watch the extended. Get the theatrical.
The cast is wild too.
I feel like I have to watch it with someone to like enjoy it.
Watch
it with us.
I'll watch it with you, buddy.
Let's schedule this.
Like if I'm sitting alone and I throw it on and there's all this ridiculous shit happening, I'm just gonna clock out basically.
No. Let's schedule a watch party.
It's worth watching.
It's totally worth it.
But just hearing you describe it is also very entertaining, I must say. It might be more entertaining than the movie itself, like possibly. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. Fucking Patrick Stewart. Is Gurney.
Patrick Stewart with his fucking like when he meets him later and he's got a mullet down past his shoulders.
He's so good. I love Patrick Stewart.
But it's Patrick Stewart with a mullet. Still in the pattern of his receding hairline. So it's just the crown that he's always had with a mullet coming down. It's so weird.
Patrick Stewart.
It's great. He's great.
Is Gurney Halleck.
Sting is Fade Ralph.
Shang Yun is Chani. Our boy Jurgen is
Leto. Dean Stockwell.
He wouldn't know who Dean Stockwell is.
Max von Sydow.
Who Virginia
who
Madsen.
Looks the exact same age.
Yeah.
He doesn't age at all.
And Brad Dourif is the Harkonnen meant that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually has a more of a part in this.
Linda Hunt is in it as well.
Linda Hunt's in it as well. Yeah. It's worth watching.
Yeah.
As a cultural artifact, it's worth watching.
And as like a juxtaposition to the Dune that we now know and love.
For sure. No, I feel like Dune Part 2 has left me on such a high that I know I'm going to revisit the world before Part 3 comes out in some or the other capacity. I'm probably going to read the book. I probably will watch this movie. Before Part 3 comes out, like all of this is going to happen. Like
I'll give a shout out to the audiobook because that's the way that I did it. And like it is a very well done audiobook that is like has multiple voice actors doing a lot of the parts. So it comes across very well. And from anyone that I've talked to that's tried to read the book, I feel like I've had a better experience by listening to it instead of reading it, because reading it I've heard is nothing short of just exhausting.
Yeah. I've heard it's a challenge, like a real challenge.
Yeah. And it sails by. It's 21 hours.
I watched Jodorowsky's Dune today. Jodorowsky's
Dune.
Jodorowsky's Dune today, and fucking he wanted Orson Welles for the Baron.
Yeah,
and he wanted Mick Jagger.
Oh man,
for Fade Ralph.
His cast list was wild.
Jagger. Yeah, but I really like that too, and I think it's cool.
That was
the
first ever documentary I watched on Netflix. Was Jorodowsky's Dune.
It's cool as shit.
So
And
it's
I-
like
so it's a documentary.
It's
it's a document because he never made it.
Oh, so it's kind of like that Lhasa Menacha
Kind
documentary.
of. It's literally like they go in, they're interviewing him. He's talking about how he kind of rose up with El Topo and Holy Mountain, and then his next one he wanted to do was Dune, and then they kind of how he assembled his crew and how they built like a Bible type thing of what they wanted it to look like. The shot list, it's all storyboarded, and it's like a fucking
And the art. Oh
the
man,
art, it's amazing, and it's like a thick ass book. And he brought it to all the studios, and they're like, "This is cool, but no."
like the concept art, Tony, is fucking incredible.
Yeah, I
like
think
the
you can
vision
buy-
that they had
At the time when they made the movie,
Yeah.
the documentary, I think there was only like 2 copies of the book left. But I
Yeah.
think now you can actually buy the book or read it online. I think, isn't it the idiots with the NFTs?
Yes.
Didn't they buy the book?
Yes.
Because they thought that they could make the movie, and
Yeah.
they didn't realize that buying the book doesn't give them the rights to Dune.
Yeah.
It just gives them
rights
ownership
to
of that copy of the book.
Yeah.
Dumbasses.
Yeah, they definitely tried to do that, but like honestly, like it was a bewildering documentary of just like you're just kind of seeing the raw creative process of someone who's like so passionate about a movie and like did all the right things to get this movie off the ground. Like had the proof of concept, had the concept art, had the cast list, had everything ready, and everyone was just like, fuck no, like this is not happening. And it was just, I feel like it was all just a matter of timing, and also just like I think the budget that he wanted was
It was like $15 million, which was a lot in 75,
Yeah.
76.
it was too early.
Too early.
Yeah.
And then kind of they're showing some of the concept art and stuff, and you're kind of like, that looks familiar. And then they show why it looks familiar.
Yeah.
Because like H.R. Geiger, who designed the Alien, the Alien head, he's doing stuff. It's very much, you're like, that kind of looks like the Alien head from Alien.
Yep.
Sure enough.
Amazing.
He definitely redid some of that for Alien, but that's because Jorodowsky's Dune was never getting off the ground.
Yeah. But it's cool.
It is very
It's cool. And now I really want to watch El Topo and the Holy Mountain.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
that's something else you can add to your watch list.
It's more of a fun sort of throwaway documentary of just kind of like it's just neat to see the entire thing unfold. That was my first ever exposure to anything Dune. And I didn't even know what it was about. I heard that it was a pretty good documentary, and I think it was one of Netflix's first gets.
It probably would have been one of the first ones that would have been on Netflix.
Yeah. This was way like
It's
I'm
a
talking
Sony classic.
like this is
Sony
2013
classic.
or so.
Yeah, it was a
Early days.
Yeah.
It was a TIFF.
Yeah, so like it's a worthwhile watch, at least from like an educational standpoint of just like, oh, this is kind of interesting, like how someone in the 70s anyway went about trying to get a movie made, and how cool it could have been. And it's like almost like, oh man, like what could have been if this existed? Like how would that have influenced Lynch's Dune if it even would have happened if this came out? Like it's interesting to think about
and his producer is Lea Seydoux' like great uncle or something.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's worth watching. It's worth watching because I watched it because we were doing this, and I thought it would be cool to watch, and I'm glad I watched it. And I like Lynch's Dune.
Yeah.
I don't love it. It's not his best work by far, and it's definitely a flawed, super flawed movie. But
it's
for a movie from '84 about this massive book.
Yeah. It's funny though with Lynch's Dune, like once I think you put it in your review too, but like once you get to that third act, holy fuck, it's just a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's just an absolute, like things are just happening, and you're just like,
and the extended I felt like that too.
Yeah. When I was talking about like, there's certain things missing from Villeneuve's where like it would help with the context. No context. It's just happening.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there, just like, let it happen.
Having both kind of helps though, of like you have Villeneuve's, it's a little bit more like has a few more of the things, and some of the things that aren't in Villeneuve's are in Lynch's, and it's like, oh, you can kind of piece together almost the complete story by having all of it.
That's why I said I think I appreciated Lynch's more because I had already seen Villeneuve's.
Yeah,
and
I think
then
so too.
You also had read the book, so it probably
it helps a lot because like when you when you were saying you were watching and going, you were waiting for the next thing, that was like, oh, I remember this happened in Lynch's. For me, it was, oh, I remember this from the book. I know exactly what's fucking coming next.
And apparently, like when the movie came out, they had to like hand out glossaries when you bought the ticket.
Oh,
God.
That explained all the words
Yeah.
to you.
Was it just the opening of the extended version that just like gives you all of the backstory?
No, that I think it's in both versions, but it's just like
Yeah.
Muad'Dib,
Muad'Dib,
Shai-Hulud, Fremen, Mentat,
Yeah.
Bene Gesserit. Just explaining what everything is,
Yeah.
which is helpful because if you don't know anything about Dune, you're just
because-
like,
And a two
cool.
hour 15-minute movie, you don't have enough time. The problem is your time is your enemy. Like you don't have time to set this up. Like you needed 2 parts of Dune in order to not need a fucking glossary when you watch it. Like,
Well, if they made it a proper 3-hour movie, I think they could have done a better job. It
Yeah.
still would have been rushed, but I think it would have been better received then.
Or you just cut stuff, right? Don't try to squeeze everything in. Cut a few characters and subplots and make the best you can in that way.
Which is what Villeneuve did.
anyway, I think all of this to say and to wrap our
Yeah.
Dune conversation. Tony hates Dune and I love Dune. And
It's not
And,
for me.
and
It's
as
not
you
for
said,
me.
the candles have gone out for Shai
and
Hulud.
our Shai Hulud shrine is no more. It tells me that it's time to wrap up this podcast. We wasted 2 candles on Tony's hatred of Dune.
I didn't, man.
I'm just
wasn't for
Busting
me.
your nuts.
Also,
It's a Shonda.
before we close,
Yeah.
Sisterhood of the Dune. Is that what it's called?
Sisterhood of the
The
Traveling
TV.
Dune.
The TV show.
Is that going more into depth with like Rebecca Ferguson's character and like those people? Is
The
that
Bene Gesserit.
yes, the Bene Gesserit?
That's my understanding.
I think
Is
so.
that
Yes.
okay? Because like when I was watching it, I was just like, oh, like I guess this is where the TV show's gonna leave off.
That's my
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's going to be more. It's going to be Bene Gesserit focused. Which,
perfect,
great,
great, sure.
cool.
Sign me up. I'll watch it.
I will put my hand in the box every time.
And What's in the box? Pain.
Do we think it's winning Best Picture, or do we think it's a little too early to make those claims?
It's not winning best fucking
It's
picture.
getting nominated.
It will be
It's
nominated.
gonna be nominated.
There's 10 films. It's going to be nominated.
It's gonna be nominated.
Is it going to clean up and get all the
technical awards?
technical awards again?
Probably.
Yeah, it cannot get more than 6. I think that's
Yeah.
because the first one got 6,
6,
right?
yeah.
And cannot get any acting nominations at all.
There's a chance.
Well, Lord of the Rings only got 1 the whole time. It was only 1, and
Yeah.
everybody keeps comparing it to Lord of the Rings.
That was
Yeah.
even both of them are ensembles, but I feel like in this one, Paul is more of a central figure than anyone in
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings was. So he might. They do like him.
They do.
It depends on how the year shakes
Yeah.
out, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see what the rest shows up.
So we do think it's too early to make these
Yeah.
jumps.
Yeah, we can safely say that it's going to be nominated for a bunch of the technical awards and it will be nominated for Best Picture. I'm pretty confident, unless some crazy ass shit happens for the rest of 2024. I'm pretty confident in that. Will it win? I'm not making that prediction now.
That's fair.
Also depends on when they announce part 3. I think if they make it very clear that part 3 is coming and coming soon, then maybe the Academy does that thing of, okay, then we'll just shower all the accolades
what
on
if-
the next one.
What if Godzilla and Kong is the fucking Citizen Kane of movies? It's going to clean house, 9 Oscar wins.
Maybe.
Best actor going to Godzilla.
They
That would
did-
be I think that would be my most favorite moment of the Oscars. And
Andy
the winner
Serkis
is
would just fucking
Godzilla.
like he's so pissed.
They have to cut to an acceptance speech of him in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Kong is there just clapping.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with it.
I'd be fine
I'd
with
be
it.
fine
I would
with it.
think it would be the most bewildering Oscars I've ever seen in my life.
They put out a great poster today where it was like, he's Godzilla. He's just Kong. You know, like the Barbie theme. Like, it was so good.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
God. I love that we have to go experience more monkey hierarchy in this one. It's what I
Hierarchy's
fucking
gonna
wanted.
change.
It's the hierarchy of the monkey under universe hollow
And he
earth
has
is going to
that bite-
change.
he has
You
that
bite your
fancy
fucking tongue. That movie's gonna be great.
He has that
Citizen
fancy
Kane.
arm thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, he gets the mech arm.
Oh man.
Sick.
But,
Anyway.
thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you
Avneesh,
for having
so
me.
much.
you
It was a
enjoyed
pleasure.
yourself.
Thank you.
We're going to need to have you back on again. We have some other ideas.
Yes, sir.
And also,
I will
we
be
need to
here.
have a David Lynch's Dune watch and then talk about it.
Yeah, as long as Shai Hulud comes to pick me up whenever I call, I will be there. Yeah.
I mean, just start thumping
what he said.
rhythmically on the ground is all you need to do. And Shai Hulud will answer.
Welcome
So
back
it's-
anytime, buddy.
Yes.
Pleasure. No, this is great. And happy to be here and celebrate, what a joyous occasion yesterday
brought
was.
cake.
Yeah. And, it was Nolan winning,
Yes.
Dave's birthday, you guys having 2 years down on this pod. So
Yeah.
feels like
Avneesh brought us cake. You weren't here.
celebration.
Avneesh.
Yeah, Avneesh
so
brought
we
us
have cake in the
Oh,
fridge.
that's amazing.
We're gonna have
So if
some
you're
cake.
listening to this, go buy yourself a cake and you can just
have your cake and eat it too.
celebrate along with us.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, we'll be back for our regular scheduled programming in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
And until then, we love you.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good night and a good week and a good 2 weeks.
Bye.